You are tuned to the Chennai station of All India Radio. In tonight's program of English, listeners, we bring you a literary talk on the poem of John Milton, L'Allegro. The talk will be delivered by Professor Vidya Department of English, Kumararani, Meena, Muthiah College of Arts and Science. L'Allegro of John Milton.
Nature is a boon for mankind. Imagining the beauty of nature, even with closed eyes, will make one happy. Watching the sunrise over a wide open country field, morning rain glistening on forest trees, and snow-covered mountain-top peaks are in fact great pleasures. There are more indescribable stunning beauties of nature, and they are absolutely breathtaking. Lovers of nature prefer a road trip, hiking trip, or camping adventure, and even worries melt away while doing so. If this is the case of ordinary people, just imagine the poets who become spellbound at the sight of the beautiful planet, and they pen them down for us to enjoy. One such poem is what we are reviewing in today's program, and it is John Milton's L'Allegro, a lyric poem centering on the joy of taking part in the delights of a spring day, including those provided by nature in a pastoral setting and those provided by the theatre in an urban setting. Let me introduce the poet. John Milton is recognized as one of the greatest writers in English language and as a thinker of world importance. John Milton was born in London on December 9, 1608, into a middle-class family. He was educated at St. Paul's School and then at Christ College, Cambridge, where he began to write poetry in Italian, Latin, and English, and prepared to enter the clergy. Milton served as Secretary for Foreign Languages in Cromwell's government, composing official statements defending the Commonwealth. He is best known for his Paradise Lost, an epic poem recounting the biblical story of humanity's fall from grace. Paradise Lost, which chronicles Satan's temptation of Adam and Eve and their repulsion from Eden, is widely regarded as his masterpiece and one of the greatest epic poems in world literature. Since its first publication, the work has continually elicited debate regarding its theological themes, political commentary, and its depiction of the fallen angel Satan, who is often viewed as the protagonist of the work. The epic has had wide-reaching effect, inspiring other long poems such as Alexander Pope's The Rape of the Lock, William Wordsworth's The Prelude, and John Keats' Endymion, as well as Mary Shelley's novel Frankenstein, and deeply influencing the work of P.B. Shelley and William Blake, who illustrated an edition of the epic. In addition to this great work, Milton also wrote Lycidas, Il Penseroso, and L'Allegro, a series of sonnets on personal and political themes, as well as a number of fine minor poems. Actually, L'Allegro and Il Penseroso are companion poems that Milton has written. His prose works include Areopagitica and The Doctrine and Discipline of Divorce, both powerful essays in defense of individual liberty. Now the poem, Hence loathed melancholy of Cerberus and blackest midnight born, in Stygian cave forlorn, among horrid shapes and shrieks and sights unholy, find out some uncouth cell, where brooding darkness spreads his jealous wings, and the night raven sings, there under reborn shades and low-browed rocks, as ragged as thy locks, in dark Cimmerian desert ever dwell. So goes the poem of 152 lines. Let me summarize the poem. The title L'Allegro is an Italian word that originally meant the cheerful man. The speaker orders melancholy from his life to find a dwelling place among the Cimmerians, people who live in a land of unending darkness. At the same time, he invites a goddess of joy, Euphrosyne, to bring him mirth on the dawning of a new spring day, as the song of the lark and the din of a rooster chase the last of the darkness away. The sun begins to rise, robbing the clouds in flames. Then The ploughman in the field whistles, the milkmaid sings a song, the mower sharpens his scythe, and shepherds count their sheep under hawthorn trees. Smoke curls up from the chimney cottage. The young and the old come out to play. And when the sun goes down again, they will tell stories over ale. One of the tales will be about the Lubberfiend, a hairy giant with a tail. He does farm work and household chores in return for a bowl of cream. But despite his grotesque appearance, he means no harm. On fine days in May, knights and barons in the cities contend with wits or weapons in peaceful contests before their ladies, and Hymen, the god of marriage, appears to preside over many a wedding with pomp and feast and revelry, with masque and antique pageantry. Then there are plays to see in the city, those of the great Elizabethan writers Ben Jonson and William Shakespeare. The speaker ends the poem by again addressing the heavenly bringer of joy, Euphrosyne. Referring her as mirth, he asks her to bring with her jest and youthful jollity, quips and cranks and wanton wiles, nods and becks and wreathed smiles. Now we move on to the analysis. The poem is set in the speaker's mind as he anticipates the pleasures he will enjoy on an inviting spring day, first in a countryside setting and then in an urban setting. The tone of the poem is joyful and exuberant. The first days of spring are like magic. After bundling up all winter, you can finally walk outside and feel warm sunshine on your skin and smell the clean scent of grass and flowers. John Milton brings that magic to his lyric poem L'Allegro. L'Allegro, the happy man, is a perfect example of Milton's skill. Milton begins the poem by rejecting melancholy, personified as a horrific creature in the first 10 lines, and then in the 11th line, he invites the goddess of joy, Euphrosyne, to go forth with him into the sun-kissed fields. The rest of the poem centers on the people and activities. He uses words for the sheer beauty of their sound, as well as for the ability to express a single thought with a long series of rich poetic images. Throughout the poem, the speaker directs his words to various Greek gods and personifications. He begins by telling Melancholy to leave him alone and go bother the Cimmerians. After all, spring is the time to banish darkness. He then calls Euphrosyne the goddess of joy. The speaker asks her to bring him happiness and all it entails, such as smiles and nods. The day breaks bright and cheerful around him. The sun rises and the people start their day. As he watches the people, the speaker imagines their idyllic small town lives. For example, a group of shepherds counting their sheep catches his eye, and he imagines that they are telling stories as they guard their flocks. Each villager or a bit of nature the speaker's eye falls on and is seen through his euphoria. Some of the sights include meadows full of flowers, cloud-covered mountains, and people telling stories over ale. Then the speaker shifts to life in the city on a pleasant afternoon. In contrast to the shepherds and villagers, the city is home to knights, barons, and ladies. Again, he imagines the stories being told, but here it is not shepherds telling tales or villagers talking over ale. Instead, people go to the theatre in the evening and are excited to listen to the verses and watch the action. He notes that Hymen, the Greek god of marriage, often appears at feasts that would boggle the imaginations of young poets. In place of this monster, the cheerful poet welcomes Euphrosyne or Mirth, who mythologically was the daughter of Venus and Bacchus, or perhaps of Zephyrus, the west wind, or the Aurora, the dawn, as neither loving nor drinking figures significantly seen in the poem. It must be inferred that John Milton prefers the latter, less well-known genealogy. He invites Mirth together with the mountain nymph, Sweet Liberty, to take him as one of her followers, to live in unreproved pleasures free. In fact, the poet becomes a spectator rather than a participant in the pastoral activity. He imagines the lark rising at dawn, the hunt, and the cock crowing. As the sun rises, he observes typical country work, people and animals, especially sheep and shepherds. The landscape is an impossible one, in that meadows, castles, mountains, wide rivers, and woods all jostle one another for place. Similarly, the day dissolves from a working day to a rustic holiday, focusing on the merrymaking at supper time. The folk tell one another legends and country tales as the ale circulates. With sunset, they go to bed. Not so the cheerful man who imagines himself now in towered cities of a distinctly medieval flavor with throngs of knights and barons bold. A tournament is being held, then a wedding feast. Then the man goes to the theatre to see the comedies of Ben Jonson or the young William Shakespeare. We know how singers will mention other musicians in their lyrics. Likewise, here Milton mentions Ben Jonson and William Shakespeare, the stars in the realm of theatre. He closes the poem by calling Euphrosyne, again referring to her as mirth. The pastoral poems Milton wrote in his youth, in addition to l'Allegro, Il Penseroso, and Lycidas, reveal a freshness lacking in some of his later poetry, including much of Paradise Lost. In his effortless recitation of classical and mythological names, Milton is at his strongest. To attain bliss, John Milton calls for soft music and poetry that would rouse even the god Orpheus. If mirth can give him all these, the poet owes to live always with her. As the poet has casted off his gloom to embrace the delights of a glorious spring day, let us all cherish and celebrate each and every moment of our lives.
Listeners, you just listened to a literary talk on the poem of John Milton, L'Allegro. The talk was delivered by Professor Vidya, Department of English, Kumararani, Meena, Muthiah College of Arts and Science. With that, we come to the end of this edition of Program in English, and this broadcast came to you from the Chennai studios of All India Radio.